Have you ever felt like a puppet in someone else's hands? As Albert Einstein once said, only a life lived for others is a life worthwhile. But what happens if others are exploiting your kindness? In this video, we unravel the 8 signs that warn you of being used. Number 1, the self-centric. We often encounter individuals who seem to exist in a bubble of their own, seemingly unaware of the needs and feelings of those around them. You might have heard the saying, "It's good to be selfish, but not so self-centered that you never listen to other people." Hugh Hefner's words ring true, especially when we talk about recognizing if someone is using you. These self-centric individuals can be particularly adept at using others for their personal gain. Self-centric people often exhibit certain common traits. One of the most glaring signs of a self-centric individual is their constant focus on their own needs, wants, and feelings, often to the exclusion of those of others. They are generally not interested in your day-to-day life, your feelings, or your opinions, unless they can somehow benefit from them. They often monopolize conversations, steering them toward their life and their issues. If you've ever tried sharing your own experiences only to be met with disinterest or a quick redirect back to their narrative, you've tasted the flavor of a self-centric people. Another telltale sign is their propensity for one-sided favors. They might frequently ask for your help, whether it's time, resources, or emotional support. But when the tables are turned, they're often conveniently unavailable or uninterested. This pattern is not a coincidence but a calculated move, where they use your willingness to help to their advantage. A personal anecdote that comes to mind is of a friend I had in high school. Let's call her Jane. Jane was always the center of attention, had a knack for drama, and a constant need for validation. I found myself often lending a sympathetic ear or helping her through her daily crises. However, whenever I needed a listening ear, Jane was either too busy or dismissed my problems as insignificant. Over time, it became clear that Jane was more interested in the benefits my friendship offered her than in being a supportive friend in return. Identifying self-centric individuals in your life is the first step to protecting yourself from being used. Remember, every interaction is not a stage for their grand performance. You deserve to be heard, appreciated, and respected. Number 2, the conditional companion. Conditional companions are those individuals who are charming, supportive, and utterly pleasant, but only when it suits their needs. Their pleasant demeanor appears and disappears with the rise and fall of their personal interest, like the phases of the moon. Similar to George Washington's belief, true friendship is a plant of slow growth and must undergo and withstand the shocks of adversity before it is entitled to the appellation. A genuine friendship or relationship requires consistent effort, understanding, and empathy, elements that are conspicuously missing with a conditional companion. You might notice that a conditional companion is extremely nice, even excessively so, when they need a favor or when they stand to gain something from the interaction. They might shower you with attention, compliments, and support, creating an illusion of deep connection and trust. However, once their need is fulfilled or their gain is secured, their attention and support fade away as quickly as they appeared. This sudden shift in behavior can leave one feeling confused, used, and betrayed. It's akin to being left high and dry after the tide of their interest recedes. It's important to recognize these patterns in people around you, as it is an indicative sign of you being used. It's not your fault that the warmth and closeness disappear when they have no personal stakes involved. You deserve consistent respect and consideration in all your relationships. Recognizing a conditional companion is crucial to protect oneself from being manipulated and used. To do so, observe people's behavior not just during times of need, but also during periods of normalcy. Real connections transcend the boundaries of conditional behavior. Don't let yourself be left in the dark. Knowledge is power, so make sure you watch the entire video and don't skip any part. Uncover all 8 signs to protect yourself from manipulation. Number 3, the Master Manipulator. Master manipulators are skilled at exploiting the emotions of others to serve their own purposes. They turn conversations, situations, and relationships to their advantage through psychological tactics that can be highly subtle and hard to detect. Predominantly, they make you feel obligated to act in a way that serves their interests. One of the most widely employed strategies by master manipulators is guilt tripping. This involves making you feel guilty or responsible for not meeting their expectations or requirements. They might accuse you of being selfish, uncaring, or unkind when you cannot or choose not to comply with their requests. For instance, a manipulator might say, "If you really cared about me, you wouldn't hesitate to lend me money," or "Only a heartless person would refuse to help in my situation." Another tactic is victim playing. Here, the manipulator portrays themselves as a victim to evoke sympathy, pity, or guilt, thereby pressuring you into doing what they want. They might share stories of personal hardships, real or contrived, to appeal to your compassionate side. Manipulators also extensively use the foot in the door technique, where they begin with a small request to make you more likely to agree to a larger request later. For instance, they might first ask you to lend a small sum of money, making it more difficult for you to refuse when they later ask for a much larger amount. These tactics can make it extremely difficult to say no and maintain your emotional boundaries. You might feel guilt, fear, or obligation, and these emotions can push you into doing things you otherwise wouldn't. It's essential to recognize these manipulation tactics in order to protect yourself. To counter these tactics, it's crucial to establish firm emotional boundaries. It's okay to say no when you feel uncomfortable or pressured. Remember, you are not responsible for other people's happiness or well-being. It's also helpful to seek advice from trusted individuals to gain a clearer perspective. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It's fast, it's easy, and it'll keep you informed about manipulation signs and protect yourself by staying updated with our latest videos. Number 4. The promise breakers. Promise breakers are individuals who consistently fail to keep their promises or commitments. They may make grand promises with great fanfare, assuring you of their sincerity and dedication. But when the time comes to deliver, they fall short. This behavior is not an occasional oversight, but a recurring pattern that raises the question, are you being used? People seldom break promises for no reason. With promise breakers, the reasons might be rooted in a blatant disregard for others' feelings or a selfish prioritization of their own needs. They make promises as a means to an end, often to extract something they desire. The commitment is not meant to be fulfilled, but only serves as a tool to manipulate and control. They might promise to return a favor, offer emotional support, or make amends for past mistakes. But inevitably, they leave you in the lurch, having used the promise as a bait to achieve their selfish goals. Dealing with promise breakers can be emotionally draining. It can lead to a sense of betrayal, disappointment, and even loss of self-esteem. When promises are repeatedly broken, trust is eroded, leading to strain in relationships. It's important to remember that you shouldn't feel guilty or responsible for someone else's breaches of trust. It's their behavior that is at fault, not your trust in them. Identifying these individuals is essential to prevent further emotional distress. Pay close attention to patterns in their behavior. Are they quick to make promises but slow in fulfilling them? Do they offer excuses for their broken promises or justify their inaction? These are the revealing signs of promise breakers. Number 5. The boundary crossers. You might have encountered individuals who consistently invade your personal space, dismiss your feelings, or disrespect your boundaries. These individuals, known as boundary crossers, have a knack for overstepping lines and making you feel uncomfortable or violated. Recognizing boundary crossers is an essential step in protecting yourself from being used. Personal boundaries are essential for maintaining a healthy relationship, be it personal or professional. They are guidelines we set to communicate our limits and expectations to others. These boundaries protect our self-esteem and prevent us from being manipulated or used by others. They could be physical boundaries that protect our personal space, emotional boundaries that safeguard our feelings, mental boundaries that preserve our thoughts, or spiritual boundaries that protect our beliefs. Boundary crossers, however, bypass these safeguards without hesitation. They have the inclination to ignore your no, trivialize your feelings, dismiss your opinions, or invade your personal space. They might make you feel guilty for setting these boundaries or may even ridicule them. This can leave you feeling disrespected, violated, and used. So, how do you recognize when your boundaries are being disrespected? Here are some signs. You might feel discomfort or resentment when interacting with certain individuals. You might find yourself constantly explaining or defending your personal boundaries to them. They might disregard your requests or ignore your feelings, making you feel invisible or insignificant. These are clear indications that your boundaries are being violated. Remember, you have every right to establish and enforce your personal boundaries. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for doing so. It's your right to protect your emotional, mental, and physical well-being. Boundary crossers may not like it, but standing firm in your boundaries is crucial to safeguard yourself from being used. Number 6, the emotional blackmailer. Susan Forward, a renowned psychologist, once said, "Emotional blackmailers thrive on power and control, manipulating others to get what they want." These are skilled manipulators who use fear, obligation, and guilt to exploit their targets. They thrive on power and control, employing various tactics to bend others to their will. The interactions with these individuals often leave you feeling used and drained. The behaviors of emotional blackmailers are marked by a pattern of demands and threats aimed at influencing your decisions and actions. They exploit your vulnerabilities and amplify your fears to ensure compliance. For instance, they may threaten to end a relationship or spread damaging information about you if their demands aren't met. Tactics used for emotional blackmail are smartly disguised beneath a veil of concern or love, making them hard to recognize. They might voice out hurtful statements like, "If you loved me, you would do this for me," or "Everyone else agrees with me. You're the only one who doesn't." Such statements are meant to make you question your own judgment, thereby making it easier for them to control you. Beverly Engel, a psychotherapist famous for her work on emotional abuse, advises, recognize the tactics of emotional blackmail so you can reclaim your own power. Recognizing these tactics of emotional blackmail is the first step in reclaiming your power. Being aware of the manipulative patterns allows you to respond assertively rather than reactively. If you find yourself constantly second-guessing your decisions or feeling guilty for asserting your needs, it's time to reassess the relationship. Handling emotional blackmail requires courage and firmness. You need to set clear boundaries and communicate openly about your feelings. Do not give in to the fear or guilt that the blackmailer tries to instill in you. Stand your ground and make it clear that manipulation won't be tolerated. If necessary, seek help from a trusted friend, family member, or mental health professional. Number 7, the favor seekers. Recognize the favor seekers in your life and set healthy boundaries. Surround yourself with those who appreciate your worth and reciprocate your kindness. These wise words by Jane Smith are an essential guide to identifying another type of individual who might be using you. The favor seekers. The favor seekers are those who constantly ask for favors, yet never seem to have the time or inclination to return the favor. They appear in your life when they need something, be it assistance with a task, advice, or resources, and vanish once their needs are met. This constant giving from your end and taking from theirs can drain you emotionally, physically, and sometimes even financially. One clear sign of a favor seeker is their inconsistency in maintaining contact. They might not check in on you or show interest in your well-being unless they require a favor. Another sign is the imbalance of give and take in your interactions. If you find yourself always on the giving end, while receiving little to nothing in return, you might be dealing with a favor seeker. Favor seekers often play on your empathy and goodwill, making it difficult for you to refuse their requests. They might use guilt-tripping, emotional manipulation, or flattery to get you to comply. It's important to note that it's perfectly fine to help others. However, when it becomes a one-sided affair, it's essential to reassess the relationship. A balanced relationship is akin to a two-way street. There's mutual respect, understanding, and reciprocation. If you always find yourself in a one-way lane with the favor seekers, it's time to consider if you're being used. Number 8, the Constant Critic. This character is someone who seems to find fault in everything you do, always ready with a critique or a negative comment. The key word here is constant. We're not talking about a friend or a loved one who occasionally offers constructive criticism for your betterment. The constant critic is an entirely different breed. Constructive criticism is a necessary part of growth and development. It comes from a place of care and is often presented in a manner that encourages change and improvement. In contrast, constant criticism does not aim at your growth, but rather at undermining your confidence. The critic's words are often harsh, and instead of motivating change, they instill self-doubt and erode self-esteem over time. Constant critics make you question your every move, casting a shadow of doubt over your abilities and decisions. They are quite skilled at wrapping their biting remarks in a cloak of concern, making it hard for you to distinguish between genuine advice and manipulative criticism. One minute, they're making you feel inadequate. The next, they're offering to help you improve. A seemingly noble gesture that is, in reality, a way for them to exert control over you. This relentless criticism can have detrimental effects on your mental health. You may start internalizing their negative remarks, leading to lowered self-esteem and increased anxiety. You might find yourself constantly seeking their approval, thus falling into a vicious cycle of criticism and self-doubt. It's crucial to remember that nobody has the right to continually criticize you under the guise of helping you. Consider this scenario. Your friend Robert always has something negative to say about your work. No matter the effort you put into your projects, Robert is swift to point out the flaws, rarely acknowledging your hard work. Over time, you start to feel insecure about your capabilities and begin to rely on Robert to fix your mistakes. Robert, in this case, is using criticism as a tool to undermine your confidence and manipulate you into being reliant on him. Don't let the constant critic chip away at your self-worth. Surround yourself with people who offer genuine support and constructive criticism, rather than those who constantly belittle you for their own gain. Remember, true friends lift you up, they don't bring you down. So next time someone in your life fits the bill of a constant critic, it's probably best to distance yourself from their toxic influence. Stay strong, recognize these tactics, and reclaim your power. Let's foster relationships that honor and value each other's worth. For more insights into the Stoic way of life, check out our latest video on the right, and never forget to be great, be wise, be Stoic.